So you want to be a cleric, Chancellor of Clarity, the champion for the clergy. Ezra, the level 1 cleric, today on Dungeons and Taverns. Hi there, I'm Saul Sunforge, and I've been a DM since back when I was in the Navy in 2002. I make these videos with the hope that they help you. If they do help you, drop a like and a subscribe, and feel free to share these videos with others who may get benefit from them as well. Up next on the So You Wanna Be series is the Cleric. The previous videos, a fighter and a bard, are available. The character sheets are available, the links in the video's description and in the comment section. There's a link to the free level 1 character sheet that I make available on the Google Drive. Cleric's one of the most versatile classes in the game, and I can argue that it's probably the most versatile and the most valuable. If you want to be the main tank, you can wear plate and have a shield. If you want to stay back, heal, or deal powerful divine magic, you can do that as well. Cleric's key ability is Turn Undead, where all monsters of the undead nature run away in fear. But that's not all a cleric is, though. Clerics have something called domain. A domain simply means what type of focus is your divine retribution going to take place in, and you pick it at level 1. I'm going to go ahead and give a brief description on the domains, and you can maybe make a choice from those, but you can also find them. Page 31 of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything has the Order domain. Peace domains on page 32. Twilight domains on page 34. Page 18 and page 19 of the Xanathar's Guide to Everything has the Forged in the Grave domains. The Knowledge, Life, Light, Nature, Tempest, and Trickery domains can be found on page 59 of the Player's Handbook starting out. Alright, so the domains in alphabetical order. Arcana, you can increase the cleric's cantrip spell selection. You can cast Dispel on targets that you heal. And later, you can gain a 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th level spell from the wizard's list of spells, which makes Arcana very powerful. The Death domain allows you to use your Channel Divinity option for a huge burst of necrotic damage. The Forge domain significantly boosts your AC and gives you resistance to fire, that later on becomes straight immunity to fire. Although most Forge abilities are fire-based, so you need to be aware of that in case you're coming across enemies that are resistant or immune to fire. The Grave domain are more efficient at healing allies right before they're dead. They're effective at healing allies, mitigating damage, and boosting allies' damage. At higher levels, they can heal the party by killing nearby enemies, and they can negate critical hits. So they're a very strong support domain. The Knowledge domain provides versatility and can use their channel divinity to provide temporary proficiencies. They're very DM dependent, as a lot of the features are at the DM's whims, whether they work or how they work. So you may want to clear that up with your DM first. The Life domain is the epitome of what you think of when you think of a traditional healing type cleric. With increased healing and self-healing when healing other targets, damage and warding bonds to keep off the board in heavy armor. The Light domain has strong direct damaging spells and can impose disadvantage on nearby enemies and create disadvantage against certain spells. The Nature domain, I kind of made fun of it a little bit. It's if you picked a cleric and decide you want your cleric to be a bit druidy, except you get to wear heavy armor. It gives the rest of the party resistance to one of several kinds of damage if the party is nearby you. The Order domain provides allies with additional attacks. You can cast enchantment spells on allies as bonus actions, or you can curse enemies to take more damage. Order clerics are more like generals on the battlefield, dealing damage in area denial. All the action sort of happens around them. The Peace domain provides long-lasting party buffs right out the gate without using spell slots. Their channel divinity allows movement without fear of being attacked. They heal allies that they pass by, and the area this increases is 60 feet at level 17. For the Tempest domain, even with the war domain in terms of melee combat, but it trades the additional attacks for unique domain spells. They have a strong battlefield presence and control by pushing enemies away or using fog clouds to obscure their vision. They eventually gained flight when outdoors. The Trickery domains next. They offer strong domain spells with a non-combat offensive and mobility spells, and they add poison damage to melee attacks. The Twilight domain grants advantage on initiative rolls. It removes debuffs and it heals, and it has dark vision that can be shared out to the party. They can fly when they're in dim light or darkness. In my opinion, it has the most versatility of all the cleric domains. And then finally, we have the War domain, which is good for a second row combatant so that you can get in on the melee action if you choose to, but you can also keep an eye out for your backline safety. All those squishy casters. It offers an extra attack on a long rest cooldown mechanic. The War domain can do a bit of everything, but not as good as a specialist would in a different class. Here, I'll leave them up on the screen for a few moments so you can look at my descriptions that I wrote down and come back and reference them if you need to. All right, so I left those descriptions up there long enough. Let's go to the character sheet here. You see we have level 1 cleric. Ezra is the name I decided to call her. It's more of an androgynous name, so it could be a male or a female. Now, Ezra is going to be a neutral evil character. And neutral evil is they'll hurt others if it furthers their own agenda, but they're not going to harm people for just no particular reason. They're pretty much just a selfish character. They're out for themselves. And we're going to make Ezra a halfling. Character backgrounds start on page 127 with the descriptions starting on page 125. So let's choose a background now. The background we're going to choose for Ezra is on page 127, the Acolyte. You have spent your life in the service of a temple to a specific god or pantheon of gods. You act as an intermediary between the realm of the holy and the mortal world, performing sacred rites and offering sacrifices in order to conduct worshippers into the presence of the divine. You are not necessarily a cleric. Performing sacred rites is not the same thing as channeling divine power. Choose a god, a pantheon of gods, or some other quasi-divine being from among those listed in Appendix B, or those specified by your DM, and work with your DM to detail the nature of your religious service. Were you a lesser functionary in a temple, raised from childhood to assist the priests in their sacred rites, or were you a high priest who suddenly experienced a call to serve your god in a different way? Perhaps you were the leader of a small cult outside of any established temple structure, or even an occult group that served a fiendish master that you now deny. All right, so because of that the Acolyte background, we get skill proficiencies in insight and religion. So let's mark those off right off the top. We get 2 languages, so we're going to pick Elven and Dwarven. And then for starting equipment, you get a holy symbol, which is a gift to you when you entered the priesthood, a prayer book or prayer wheel, 5 sticks of incense, vestments, a set of common clothes, and a pouch containing 15 gold. So let's go ahead and write that in there now. I put out everything in my equipment inventory in alphabetical order, so it's easier to find it when you need to while you're playing. At level 1, all characters have a proficiency bonus of 2. Starting out at level 1, you get to pick 2 level 1 spells, and you get to know 3 cantrips. Since this is a character sheet that's going to be for you, I'm not going to pick those things like your deity and things like that. I'm not going to pick your domain. I'll leave those choices for you. Alright, so underneath languages here, I wrote down their proficiencies. So they're proficient in light and medium armor and simple weapons to start out. They aren't proficient in any tools, but your DM may allow you to gain proficiency during downtime activities. It's a question you're going to have to ask them. They get a D8 for their hit dice. Starting at level 1, you have 1 hit dice, and those are what you use to heal during your short rests. So right now they have 8 HP until we figure out their constitution bonus. Starting out at level 1, you always get your maximum hit dice plus your con for your hit points. But every level after that, when you gain a level, you roll your dice to see how many you gain. Or you can take the average, which is 5, and just add 5 plus your constitution modifier, which guarantees you'll never have anything lower than a 5 on that D8. So risk reward, it's up to you. Cleric is proficient in wisdom and charisma saving throws, and when they choose their starting skills, they get to choose 2 from history, insight, medicine, persuasion, and religion. Since we have insight and religion from our background, we're going to go ahead and choose 2 from history, medicine, persuasion. So we're going to go ahead and take medicine, And depending on if you want to be more of the lore keeper of the group, you go with history. If you want to be more of the face for role playing, parlaying, and things like that with monsters, you could probably pick persuasion there. We're going to go ahead and pick, we'll pick history. So you can see we have 2 wisdom and 2 intelligence skills that we're proficient in. So we're going to want to make sure that those are some of our higher abilities, get the best benefit from those. Now, when you choose your domain, you'll get additional skill proficiencies or additional languages, or you'll gain proficiency with different weapons or armor. So keep that in mind as well. This is just the base template. We're not picking the domain, so this way you have free reign to pick whatever domain you wish to. Page 143 of the player's handbook is going to have your starting wealth by class. So for cleric, the starting wealth is 5d4 times 10. So let's go ahead and roll that up now. All right, let's see what we get. 12. So 12 times 10, that's 120. Add that to the 15 we already have. So we're starting out with 135 gold. Now, I decided that Ezra is going to be a halfling. So if you're looking up halflings, it's page 26 of the player's handbook. So halflings get a dexterity bonus of 2. So let's go ahead and put that 2 down real quick. And then our halfling is going to be a lightfoot halfling. So that means Ezra's charisma is going to be 1. Halflings are about 3 feet tall and they weigh about 40 pounds. Their size category is small. Their speed is 25 feet. They're lucky, so when they roll a 1 on a d20 for an attack roll, ability check, or a saving throw, they re-roll the dice and then use the new result. Halflings are brave, so they have advantage on saving throws against being frightened. And they're nimble, so they can go through the space of any creature that is one size category or above their own. And since they're small, that means most of the party is going to be medium creatures, so they're going to be perfectly fine. All right, so we're going to want our wisdom, intelligence, and charisma to be our highest stats, but we still would prefer a higher strength. The dex isn't necessarily as important as the constitution, depending on what type of domain you are, because your armor is going to restrict your dexterity bonuses anyway. So let's roll up our 6 stats. We do 4d6. We drop the lowest. All right. So our first number is going to be 12. So we go over to the character sheet and write 12 in the margins. All right. Our next stat is going to be an 11. Third stat. Oh, wow. So we got a 17. Our fourth stat is going to be, that's going to be a reroll. In most campaigns, that's a 6. Most campaigns, that's a reroll. So my campaign's a 7 or lower is a reroll. So let's reroll it. All right, that's a bit better. So we got 11. Now, when you roll stats too low, you check with your DM before you start rolling on what stats is a reroll, because some DMs will use a higher number or a lower number. Some DMs won't even allow you to have a stat under 10, and some will let you carry a stat as low as 5. It just depends on what type of campaign they're trying to run. All right, so we have 2 more numbers. Let's roll those real quick here. That's a reroll. All right, so we got an 18. We re-rolled a 7 into an 18. Wow. All right, that's an 18, and then we have a 17. All right, so 18 and 17. All right, you can see here we put them in numerical order just for ease of use. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put an 18 in the wisdom. All right, so we have a 17, a 12, 11, and 11 left. We're gonna go ahead and put that 17 here in intelligence. We're gonna go ahead and we'll put that 12 in Constitution. Oop, touching keyboard. Put the 12 in the Constitution, so that gives us 11 and 11. So we'll put an 11 there, 11 here, plus the 2 to give us 13. So there's our final stats for Ezra, the level 1 cleric halfling. 11 strength, 13 dex, 12 con, 17 int, 18 wisdom, and 18 charisma. Pretty sweet. All right, so now it's time to figure out the bonuses. You take the number that you have here and you divide it in half and subtract 5 from it to get your bonuses. So let's do it real quick. 11 and a half is 5.5, but in D&D you round down, so it's 5 minus 5, no bonus. All right, so that'd be 12 and a half. That's 6 minus 5, it's 1. 12 and a half. All right, so then the bonuses transfer right over to the saving throws. The one you're proficient in, you add your proficiency bonus. At level 1, your proficiency bonus is a 2. So then they just go right across the column there. No strength bonus, so no strength saving throw. 1 dex bonus, 1 dex saving throw. Constitution, same thing. 1. The intelligence, the 3 carries over. For wisdom, it's a 4 plus 2 because you're proficient, so it becomes a 6. The charisma is a 4. You're proficient, so you add the 2, and it becomes a 6. Since our constitution bonus is a 1, then your hit point maximum becomes a 9, because you start out with a D8, you start out with the 8 as the max, plus your 1 from your con bonus, so it becomes a 9. But remember, every level after that, you get to roll a D8 and add the 1, or you can take the average, which is a 5 on a D8, and add a 1. So it's up to you for your risk reward. Your passive perception is based off of your wisdom. So it normally starts out as a 10, but when you add your wisdom, it becomes a 14. 10 plus 4 is 14. So your passive is 14. All right, so now the next thing we do is fill out our skills. And we're going to go right down the column to make it faster. So strength, the only thing that affects strength in 5th edition is your athletics. So we don't have a bonus. Then we go down to dex. So we put a 1. Everything that requires dex, sleight of hand, stealth, acrobatics. Okay, and then we go next is constitution. And there is no constitution skill checks in 5th edition, unless your DM homebrews them. Next we have intelligence, so we have a 3 for our int, and then the one we're proficient in, you add the proficiency bonus of 2, so it becomes a 5. Investigation, it's a 3. Nature, it's a 3. Religion, we're proficient, so it becomes a 5. And then we go down to wisdom, which is a 4. So we're proficient in insight, so it's 4 plus 2, it's a 6. Perception, we are not proficient, so it's just a regular 4. And then survival is a regular 4. All right, so then finally we go down to charisma, and we see our charisma bonus is a 4. So that's deception. We aren't trained in it. We're not trained in intimidation, or performance, or persuasion. And there you go. Our medicine. We're proficient in medicine, so 4 plus our proficiency bonus of 2. So we have a 6 in medicine. Now, halflings reach adulthood at age 20, and they generally live into the middle of their 2nd century. So we're going to make our halfling 85 years old. And we made him 2 foot 10 inches, so a little bit short, and 51 pounds, so a little bit bulkier. Brown skin, brown eyes, and black hair. The personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws you'll get from the background page. But you can also create your own if you wish. And you can work with your DM on that as well. Alright, so this personality trait fits perfectly with halflings. I've enjoyed fine food, drink, and high society among my temple's elite. Rough living grates on me. That very much fits in with the halfling. If you think of R.A. Salvatore, if you think of Regis, that fits him to a T, doesn't it? And then for ideal, I picked aspiration. I seek to prove myself worthy of my God's favor by matching my actions against his or her teachings. Now, the bond has a few of them. You roll a d6. Let's see. I would die to recover an ancient relic of my faith that was lost long ago. I'll do anything to protect the temple where I served. I seek to preserve a sacred text that my enemies consider heretical and seek to destroy. I owe my life to the priest who took me in when my parents died. There's a lot of stuff there for DMs to work with. I was already thinking of things that I would work with, and I'm just making the character. But I'm going to go with, I seek to preserve a sacred text that my enemies consider heretical and seek to destroy. That seems like it has a lot of potential. All right, and then the last category is flaw. I judge others harshly and myself even more severely. I put too much trust in those who wield power within my temple's hierarchy. My piety sometimes leads me to go blindly trust those that profess faith in my God. I am inflexible in my thinking. I am suspicious of strangers and expect the worst of them. Once I pick a goal, I become obsessed with it to the detriment of everything else in my life. There's a few good ones in there. I'm going to go with I put too much trust in those who wield power within my temple's hierarchy. There's a lot of stuff there for the DM to work with as well. All right, so we have a few more sections left to finish out. The equipment, our AC, and our weapon abilities, and as well as our spell casting, spell save DC, and our spell attack bonus. So let's do that now. A cleric spell casting ability is wisdom based. The spell save DC is 8 plus your wisdom modifier plus your proficiency bonus. So that would be 14. 8 plus 4 plus 2. Then your spell attack bonus is your wisdom modifier plus your proficiency bonus. So right now that would be 4 plus 2, that would be 6. All right, so we're going to assume that you're going with the starting equipment unless your DM allows you to use your gold to purchase your starting items. It's up to your DM. You should ask them. But we're going to go down the list. So starting equipment for category A is a mace, or B is a warhammer if you're proficient. Now, you don't start out with proficiency in a warhammer. Depending on what domain you choose, could affect those things. So we're just going to go ahead and pick a mace, and we'll put it up here as our main weapon. We'll get to that here in a few minutes. All right, next you choose your armor. You get to choose scale mail, leather armor, or chainmail if you're proficient in it. Now, remember, whatever domain you choose will change your proficiencies, but generally, unless you're for some reason building a dex build type cleric, you can go with the heavier armor is better, because you're not going to be sneaking many places. So your chainmail is going to give you, your chain and your scale mail are going to give you disadvantage for your stealth checks. Leather armor is going to allow you to use your highest dexterity bonus with no disadvantage to your stealth checks. So keep that in mind when you choose your armor. So we chose scale mail, which is a medium armor. It has an AC of 14, and you can add your dex bonus, a max of 2 of your dex bonus, which we only have 1. So that means our AC is a 15. Now remember, throughout your adventuring, you'll be able to find enchanted armor, or you'll be able to actually craft yourself or have crafted for you out of components enchanted armor. So you'll get armor that's +1, +2, +3. It might be lighter, or it might get rid of that that disadvantage to your stealth. It's all really up to what your DM has planned for you. All right, so the next column is you could choose a light crossbow and 20 bolts, or any simple weapon. Depending on if your campaign uses durability, which some of mine do. It's a house brew roll thing that I have. But I would choose the light crossbow, so this way you can have, in case you don't want to use a spell or you're out of spells, you can still attack from the back, or if you're low on health even. Next is a priest pack or an explorer's pack, and we'll get to that in about 30 seconds. And then finally, a shield and a holy symbol. We get a holy symbol from our alkalite background, but I guess another holy symbol isn't going to hurt anything. It play really well into your role play. But a shield in 5th edition gives you a base of 2 additional armor. You can find enchanted shields that add +1, +2, +3 to that too, but that's something you find in game. But because of that shield, our 15 AC turns into a 17, which is pretty respectable, especially at level 1. Page 151 of the player's handbook has all the different equipment packs that you can get. The ones available to me as a cleric are a priest pack and an explorer's pack. The explorer's pack includes a backpack, a bedroll, a mess kit, a tinderbox, 10 torches, 10 days worth of rations, and a water skin. It also has a 50-foot hempen rope strapped to the side of it. The priest pack includes the backpack, a blanket, 10 candles, a tinderbox, an alms box, 2 blocks of incense, a censer, vestments, 2 days of rations, and a water skin. And a censer, that's what you put incense in. We're probably going to go ahead and choose the priest pack. Just for that alms box, I can see a lot of roleplay situations as a cleric where you could get donations throughout the cities that you visit using your alms box. You can purchase all the other things that are in the Explorer's pack using that method alone. So we're going to break down that pack down to its individual specific elements, write that into our inventory in alphabetical order for ease of use. All right, so let's go on to weapons now. Ezra's main weapon is a mace. That's their main melee weapon. They have a light crossbow. So let's figure out the attack bonuses and the damage for these. All right, page 149 of the player's handbook has a list of all the weapons. You can see here that the mace costs 5 gold. It does 1d6 bludgeoning. It weighs 4 pounds. There are no special properties. So we go to the character sheet and we type in 1d6. And you can see here that the light crossbow is worth 25 gold. It does 1d8 piercing damage. It weighs 5 pounds. It requires ammunition. The range 80 to 320. It takes loading and 2 hands. So the range here, if you attack within those 80 feet of that inner range, you're good. If you attack between the 81 and 319 range, the normal range of the weapon, the max range, you attack with disadvantage. So we write in here 1d8. Now let's figure out if there's any bonuses and the attack bonus. You can see here the weapon properties on page 147 of the player's handbook. The light crossbow, it has loading. So because of the time required to load this weapon, you can fire only 1 piece of ammunition from it when you use an action, bonus action, or reaction to fire it, regardless of the number of attacks that you normally can make. So normally, melee weapons use strength unless they have the finesse property, or there's something about your character that makes it so that you can use dexterity instead of strength for your weapons. Since our strength bonus is a 0, but we're proficient in maces, or that means our attack bonus is 2. Why is that 2 so small? Okay, so the light crossbow, ranged weapons typically use dexterity for their attack bonuses, and it's a 1. And since you're proficient with the light crossbow, then you get a 3. That is so tiny. All right, I don't know why those numbers decide to be small like that, but it doesn't matter. The number's there for you to see. So since you don't have any strength bonus, you don't add anything to your d6. It's just a flat d6 for your mace. Your crossbow, however, uses your dexterity, and so it is a d8 plus 1. That made the plus sign small too. Well, there you go. Ezra's now ready for you to play. All that's left is I left it up to you to pick the domain and to pick your spells that you wish to use, but everything else has been created for you. So hopefully that helped you out. And if it does, leave me a like and go ahead and give me a subscribe. Feel free to share this out on social media or with any of your friends who are interested in playing D&D or need help creating their characters. I'm going to make one of these level 1 characters for every class. We've already done the fighter and we've done the bard. So this is our 3rd one, the cleric. Next up is probably going to be druid. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later and have yourself a great day.